All right, welcome back everybody. This session I'm going to cover how to do large scale campaigns. So these are campaigns that can be anywhere between a couple of hundred up to over 2,000 in total. Usually our campaign limits cut out around 2,000. So between 2 and 2,500 is where LinkedIn usually shuts down the campaign for the day, which is fine. That's their limits that they set. And once you go beyond that, they say that's enough for a day and you come back again. So when you upload, when you have larger searches, so say within Sales Navigator, this is the example I'm going to use, but let's say you had 5,000 there and you uploaded it in, it'd only take the first 2,500. And then if you upload the same for a second day, it'd not use the same people locked in the same campaign. It would import the rest of them. So you can sequence campaigns back to back, even if they're larger than 2,500. The main purpose for these type of campaigns is when you're doing a larger, usually I think more often than not, it's a client's focused campaign because you don't exactly know, the numbers are usually lower, response rates are lower, and you're less likely to get a really good bite from sending a message of 50. So you're better off doing really good Booleans and really good filters, which is what I've done here. So again, I'm using the Boolean spreadsheet, which I attached in the previous sheet. I'll attach it here again if anybody wants it, but you can find it in the last lesson that I did. And what I do is I just take that Boolean, I've pasted it here. The example that I'm using is I'm looking to reach out to in-house talent managers in the software industry in the San Francisco Bay Area. So they have to be at a certain level. I've just said senior to include everybody who's sort of a, a higher level in-house talent person. And that's what I've come up with. It's delivered 579 results, which is fantastic. Now, what I would usually do is I'll create a new campaign first and foremost, call it in-house talent Bay Area. And I'll then take this URL like so, pop it in there, automate data cleansing. Now remember I said it's excluding anyone locked in a previous campaign. So if this was 5,000 and it was the second campaign, it would make sure that it's not doubling up on anybody in this campaign from another. Then I just hit create campaign like so. And when I do that, you will then see it populate. And so we'll come back in a second once it's populated. Sometimes it can, larger ones like this can take over an hour and a half to really populate. So let's come back once that's done and I'll see you then. All right, welcome back everybody. You can see here my campaign has populated like so. Now we're just going to go in and set it up and clean the list and get it ready to go. So the way that I usually clean the list, this is my personal preference. Other people have different ways of cleaning the list, but I find it very efficient for time. Remember, the less time you spend on cleaning lists and doing all the legwork, the more time you spend on building your business and really focusing on getting on more calls, because the more calls you have, the more deals you close. So I've added a list of different keywords I want to add and remove from the search. So when I go back into the search like so, let's drag that tab there, you can go there. My first step is to clean the list. And so I'll just take a second to populate like so. I showed you roughly how to do this in the last list. It's the same process. First of all, I pick all here. Once that's populated, I'll pick visible columns and I'll switch off a bunch of visible columns that I don't need, because what I find is sometimes you can see the title here, you're getting more of the title the more columns I switch off. So if I say switch off website, switch off relationship, the mutuals, the status, I don't need any of these to decide whether this person's a good fit. Title, company, industry is really important. Okay, there we go. So now we can see, don't even need email actually. Now we can see we've got all the titles here, we've got the company and the industry. To me, they're the three that I want to know about. And you can see here, even LinkedIn's not great at this whole industry thing. I filtered by industry and look, we've got a number of different industries showing up on here. So it's a little confusing in the way that it pulls data in, unfortunately. So now I'll show you how to filter and remove. First step, forgot to do this, is to skip all profiles. The reason I'm skipping all profiles, as I said before, is I would rather exclude everybody and then put them back into my bucket rather than have to catch individuals and pull them out of the bucket. I would rather know that everybody I re-include into this campaign are people I'm talking to. I don't want to muck around with anybody who is not specifically targeted to my campaign. And the idea here is once they're all excluded, we're going to search for a bunch of different keywords like so, and we'll re-include into the campaign so that I know that, you know, about 60 to 70% I've re-included by keyword, because I'll know, see here, we've got recruiter, we've got talent, we've got acquisition, and then I'll go through and I'll exclude or delete based on certain keywords. So that's what I've got here. Usually when you're doing regular client campaigns, you're able to add and remove these titles in a pretty consistent way, because at the end of the day, for me, I find the reason I've got these here is, for example, with talent, you also pull in a whole lot of sports coaches, a whole lot of creative arts, modeling, talent management, those kind of things. And you've really got to actually focus on stripping these out. We're probably not going to have too many just based on the filters and the booleans that I've used, but ideally we don't want to have that getting in the way of a good messaging campaign. So I'll get back to you in a sec. Speak then. All right, welcome back. As you can see, everything has been removed from the campaign. And now what I want to do is I want to use these keywords to add a few back in. So we can see here, if I type in recruit, it comes up with recruiters like so. Got a bunch of them there. And when I re-include profiles, it will re-include a bunch of them like so. Now, what I would usually do is wait for this to finish. You all have lives to get on with. So I think I'm probably going to cut this short like so. You get the general idea. So if I deselect that now, you'll see that a number of these cells are black. It was working through it down below. But if I pick another, let's pick something that's slightly less. Let's have a look for search. There's maybe a few search keywords in here, you'd think. There we go. See, there's just a few in there like so. If I re-include those, that's a much quicker re-inclusion. Okay, it's taking its time there. Oh shoot, that's not good. All right, come on. There we go. Okay, so it's re-included like so. And what I would do then is I'd then just go through and re-include everyone. So let's say, for example, let's just say, hypothetically, I've included everybody that I want to re-include. And I want to strip out a few of the people who may have snuck in with LinkedIn's less than perfect algorithm. Oh, look, here we go. Executive and leadership coach. Definitely not our guy here. And we've got another coach here. So if we get rid of them, what I can do is I have one of two options. If I want to just skip the profiles, they're already skipped, so they won't get the messaging. But if I want to take these guys and I want to remove them, this guy here, executive recruiter, I'm happy to keep him in. So let's remove this. And they're deleted like so. Now that means that they will no longer be in the database at all. If they had been something less offensive, let's say I didn't want to use my LinkedIn messaging on them, but I thought, well, they might be worth an email if I wanted to send a follow-up campaign. All I'd do is I'd keep them skipped, and then when I export the CSV there, I would be able to see, okay, these are all my guys. I'll go and find email addresses for them and email them up, just like so. So that's basically how you do it. You re-include skip profiles, the ones you like, and then you usually remove profiles for keywords that you use to highlight people who shouldn't be in the search at all. And then really setting up is very much the same schedules as the last campaign, and essentially all of the same settings along here. For client-side campaigns, there's a couple of little tweaks that I'd probably suggest. Profile invites, again, I find it's really useful to include a company name in it. These are my older ones, but still I've got a company name in it. As long as you've got a company name in it, people are going to look at it and go, okay, this person's putting a little bit more effort in than just saying my name and automating it. And you usually get a higher opt-in rate. And then with sequencing, what I'll usually do for sequencing is, again, I love asking questions. Another way to do it, particularly if you're a recruiter, is to use what's called the ideal candidate campaign. And that's basically where you use somebody you think. So there are certain industries where, like for example, software, there are certain types of developers that everybody's looking for, or the majority of the industry is looking for. And rather than have to go through and assess everybody's tech stack and be more focused like that, with this you can send out a larger message saying, hey, I don't know if you're in the market for any Java developers, but here's a great one. He's fantastic. He's available now. Would love to have a conversation. And a lot of the time, even if the hiring manager doesn't have any need for a Java developer, they'll come back and say, well, don't need Java, but have you got anyone in this specialty? So it's just really initiating conversations by hitting them with where they're at. When they have a pain point, you reach out to them. Then message 2 and 3 is just a very gentle, hey, just wanted to follow up, wasn't sure if you're interested. They're pretty keen to get going. If maybe this isn't the thing you're looking for, I'm happy to work with you on something else, et cetera, et cetera. And then the 4th is just a simple breakup. In terms of timings, day 1 for me, I always send that first message because they're aware and it's hot. It sort of keeps continuity with the conversation. And then after that, day 3, day 5, in there, anywhere between like 3 and 7 days, I will send messages. I haven't seen any particularly huge increases in messaging. I try and keep it under 5 days, so 3 or 4 usually, just because after that you drop off the radar a little bit. So you want to keep that, and then after a couple of weeks, people are sick of you, so you just leave them alone. Yeah, so that's basically it. See you in the next video.